Hey folks, Phil Gallagher here. We are playing with Deafening taxes today. And again, to just throw that deck list on screen for a second, we have 4 copies of Deafening Silence in the main deck, as well as a whopping 3 Recruiter of the Guards for the late game. We have no white source here, and no Vial, so this will be an easy mulligan. And now we have good cards, so we'll keep this hand. I'm going to put 1 Flicker Wisp back in the deck. We're probably going to go back and get it later. But I probably do want land drops here. We're probably going to drag this game on for quite some time if we have our way via port, so that our Vial can just tick up and we can do cool things with Recruiter. My opponent has taken a mulligan, so that's potentially cool for us. Unless they're combo, in which case this hand is pretty bad. Okay, was not an elf. So I don't really want to expose this port to a wasteland this turn. It's not like this Jitte is amazing, but assuming my opponent has 2 lands, I probably don't actually keep them off of very much by taking the actions that I have. So I can get a Thalia or a Stoneforge and put it into play immediately. I can also just, like, cast a Recruiter and just get another Flicker Wisp so that I don't just immediately die to a Merit Lodge. It's sort of awkward, though, because I'd be incentivized to go Jitte equip, and then if my opponent has, like, a Punishing Fire or something like that, I lose out on a decent amount of tempo. Certainly not the end of the world. The other thing I could do is just, like, get a Prelate and put it on 2 to stop, like, both Loam and Punishing Fire. And then have a Wisp for if my opponent just Merit Lodges. I can also just grab Palace Jailer and go about the game in that way. I could also get a Recruiter and defer the decision a turn, which I don't hate. If I had the Spirit main deck, this would have been a cool spot for it. Just saying. Ooh, Decay the Vial. That's fine. It's not amazing for me, but it's fine. So that's a good draw. So I think I'm just going to be wisping the Recruiter this turn and holding up a Wasteland. So we're not going to go above 20 here. Actually, the other thing I can do is just get a Mom. Just Recruiter for Mom, then have my stuff protected for future turns. But I think I'm just going to put another body in play. I need to pressure my opponent's life total. Otherwise, the Sylvan Library just does absolutely gross things to me. Come on, Recruiter, come back. I miss you. I have another Flicker Wisp. I have a Recruiter. I either want to gain access to a Mom or a Prelate. Both are quite good. I'm going to go ahead and take a Mom, since having a Mom may allow me to double spell. And now I'm kind of... Nope. I was expecting my opponent to fetch twice and then copy my Wasteland or my Rishadan Port. They have not taken that line. I really don't understand not using the Wasteland. I'm just trying to puzzle through why they would do that. And also why they didn't just copy mine the previous turn either. So this may be time to just go above 20 life. Or I should say, to have the possibility of going above 20 life. So my opponent is trying to bait me to Wasteland a Thespian stage so that they can just copy and turn it into another land. So I'm not going to Wasteland a Thespian stage. I'm going to Wasteland one of their other lands. The fetch land is somewhat valuable with Sylvan Library, but my opponent can just fizzle that. So we're going to go with the Trop to make an Oko harder to cast. Blast Zone's definitely interesting. That may mean that I'm attacking with this mom now. Yeah, I think that means I'm attacking with the mom. Just push that extra point of damage. So now my opponent can tick the Blast Zone up to 3 and try to kill these two things. If they do, Mom plus Jitte attack is still lethal. I can turn this Flicker Wisp into something else other than a recruiter that I can play next turn. Or I can just turn the recruiter into something else and keep this Wisp around. So I still very much have lethal as is. I don't think porting my opponent is particularly going to do a ton. Like, I just exchanged this recruiter for something else that has more power immediately. So with Blast Zone, it's going to cost these 3 lands, or it's going to cost 3 lands plus the Blast Zone to kill these 3 creatures. Then Mom is still representing lethal. I have a Flicker Wisp for if my opponent tries to make something. It can't get more than 1 card. My Flicker Wisp can beat something like a Maze of Ith. Is it just a Ballista? Or is it just Thalia since it has 2 power? Probably just Thalia since it has 2 power. And then I'll leave myself with a threat I can play if somehow I get wastelanded off this land due to something that I'm not necessarily thinking about. Yeah, so we just move the Jitte. to Mom. And there's our last couple of points of damage. GG's. So one of the things I started to think about there is on my opponent's turn, so my opponent has this Blast Zone untapped, right? No, I guess I can't flicker it out. It doesn't enter tapped. Never mind. Takes you backseat. So what are we playing versus lands? Rest in Peace seems good. Swords in Path seem fine. Jailer seems good. Councils. So against a bug version specifically, Crusader's probably good. Maybe we'll play Mangara. Probably not. Mangara's kind of slow. So these are things that I can consider, as well as Revokers. I'm really going to want to start by taking stuff out of my deck rather than boarding stuff in. So Deafening Silence, not great. Walking Ballista, this isn't the prime matchup for it. Thalia's kind of whatever. Prelate's good, but not insane. Like, it on 2 is going to stop Loams and Decays. That alone's pretty good. And if we get into a weird spot, we can put it on 3 and stop Okos. Let's start by CMC here, see how this looks. I'll probably trim one of these. Like, it's very bad against the Oko side of the deck, but obviously great against Merit Lodge and Tireless Tracker and such. And then, what if I don't go Mana Denial? Okay, well, actually, let's take Jitte out. I don't want that. You can maybe trim one Stoneforge. And then it's a question of how many answers do I want to Oko / other permanents? Because I could, like, I could not be a Mana Denial deck and just board in these and keep one Thalia. So that I'm playing towards a ridiculously powerful endgame. And I have Council's Judgments, Revokers, Mangara, Crusaders to deal with Oko. And a bunch of Recruiters to find them, Jailers to draw into them. The other thing I could do is play a Brimaz over that random Thalia. But I think we're going to be glutted at 3 anyway. So let's do this. I wonder if my opponent is recording or streaming. Because they're taking a lot of random pauses. I know I'm lower on clock because I'm obviously talking about stuff. But they've paused at a lot of times that are kind of weird to me. I had a billion notifications on Twitter. I was checking to see what it was. It was a Goblins deck with Chalice's main deck. So, you know, I understand the excitement. So, let's see. This video is going to go up on Monday. So, if you didn't watch it already, I recently streamed with a pretty ridiculous deck. Is that going to be in the recycle bin now? Sort by date. No. Is it in my downloads? Yeah, that'll do. So I recently streamed with this deck list and got a 5-0 with it. It was super, super fun. had some of the most ridiculous back and forth moments I've had on stream in a long time. Really, really epic stream. If you didn't catch that one live, highly suggest checking that one out on YouTube. It was shenanigans. Let's see if I can find some of my clips from it, because I need to fill this time while my opponent maybe times out. Do 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 do. So test 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 test. I think this will work.
Please don't talk to Alice Taylor, though. I have a family. Alright, somebody clip that. Somebody clip.
So that was, oh, my opponent is back. I will keep my hand. So we have a strong vial-based hand for a generic matchup. Maybe not specifically this matchup, but I think that's okay. So those reclaimers are going to get to stick around as of right now. Take your life. Tap down my planes. I'm okay with it. No, don't tap down the planes. That's interesting. Are you just going to cycle that card immediately? One of Thalia. Get in here. This means that I can't just play this Council Judgment next turn. But it kind of felt like my opponent was going to cycle the Waterlog Force of Vigor, the Vial. Okay. And my opponent pitches a Force of Vigor to do that. Now it's awkward that I've played this Thalia. This Elvish Reclaimer is also probably going to grow out of range of the Drop of Honey. So am I going to lean into the Drop of Honey or dodge it? I have all of these expendable Stoneforge Mystics that I don't particularly care about, but it's just negative EV to just sit here and keep jamming Stoneforges into them. Alright, I'm gonna play this. And then I'm going to do something weird. Attack both my creatures into that Reclaimer. Madman play. And it works. So now, as of right now, on my upkeep, I lose the Mom. Then on the following upkeep, I lose the Thalia. I'm going to go ahead and lean in here. So we're going to try to force our opponent to, well, no, I'm going to get the Sword of Fireness. There's a temptation to get the Batterskull there to get them to use the Drop of Honey to destroy this. But then there's going to be scenarios where I just like rip a land, they've destroyed the Mom, and then I just play Stoneforge and everything's wonderful. That is bad for me. I care about that much, much more than the Drop of Honey. There's my answer to it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and make the same attack as last turn. He's a genius, getting those points of damage in like that. Goodbye, library. I hardly knew thee. So now I'm going to lose my Mom to this Drop of Honey. Then I'll lose the Thalia to the Drop of Honey. Then my opponent will destroy their Elvish Reclaimer. I'm at least a little surprised to not see opponent just immediately crack this. So now my Thalia attack isn't the greatest. I might take it anyway, because if my opponent blocks and then produces some land with Elvish Reclaimer, they're going to destroy the Elvish Reclaimer in their upkeep. My position isn't great, because my opponent can just get Stage followed by Dark Depths and produce a Merit Lodge, and I am at 19 currently. But if this was their intended line for the turn, I don't really get why they didn't just port as well. What are you doing? What are you doing? Did you just draw Crop Rotation? we got drop of honeyed. That's okay. Slightly frustrating, but it is what it is. One of Thalia kind of bit us in the butt here in some ways. We couldn't remove the drop of honey via Council's Judgment, and we lost a lot of tempo to that. Now that I know my opponent has Reclaimers, I think I'm going to go ahead and bring in one more of those and drop the last Thalia out. Again, more about knowing that my opponent has Reclaimers than about Thalia being a little suboptimal that game. I'm going to mulligan this. I keep this. And I'll throw back one of the two Wastelands. His hand is not amazing. Like, it's very clearly a keep. That's unquestionable. On 6 cards anyway. But this is good. Upkeep path that before they can activate it. Draw step path. After they have another chance to draw another basic land if they have one. So, what am I kind of hoping for here in terms of my draws? Recruiter of the Guard is pretty nutty. That would potentially be my best draw. Ooh, no second basic land. Quite happy to see that. These enchantments are very strong. But how do we feel about this now? So now I don't have a Thalia in my deck. So I have Stoneforge and Revoker that I could tutor up at 2. Honestly, I think it's time to just make a tempo play. We'll hit for 1 with the Mom, Wasteland the stage, and then try to use Recruiter plus Wisps to just create a giant board that pressures my opponent's life total very strongly. Doop, doop, doop. So most of my draws are going to be pretty good here, I think. a weird spot for my opponent to pause. If they were going to decay my vial, they should have done it on my turn, not here. If I had a Thalia, I would grab it here. But all four are there. So I guess my next question is, do I just attack with the mom also? Or do I hold the mom back? I think I'm attacking with the mom since I do have the redundant recruiter. I can recruiter for Stoneforge, get Batterskull, attack for 4, go from there. I think I just want to like have an army of wisps. I think that's my path to victory here. I definitely wish I had a Leon Relic ordered randomly in the assortment of cards that I played in my sideboard, but alas, I do not. I wonder if it's Force of Vigor. Nope. The opponent is clearing the top of their library there. I don't even know that I'm afraid of Drop of Honey because of how many creatures I can produce. My opponent's pauses have been at kind of weird times, so I'm having a little bit of trouble getting a read on when they're actually thinking versus when they're just doing stuff. We'll go always no to this now. That port is interesting. I think I'm just going to turn everyone sideways here. Because if my opponent decays a wisp or a recruiter, I just wisp it. And then I play a recruiter and I get another wisp. Is there anything that would beat me here? Anything at all? At least anything at all that I can play around. Force of Vigor? Force of Vigor on my Ether file during my main phase. No, that would mean I'd Flicker Wisp my Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisping a Flicker Wisp. No, I'd be okay there. I can just play my port my opponent. Or I can just Recruiter, get yet another Wisp. Let's do that. My opponent has taken no actions. Does that mean I should just vial their library out? No, because I want to be able to play around Tabernacle. Tabernacle. Well, I guess I could keep 3 creatures. I can't think of what beats me. It doesn't mean there's nothing, but I can't think of what that would be. Like, I beat Glacial Chasm. Second main phase, just blink another Recruiter. Or just no need. Yeah, it's fine. So playing the other Wisp just makes it much, much more likely that I actually connect with lethal versus a random blocker or 2 that appears, or a Maze of Ith or 2 that appears. So I think I like it. Opponent, I have nothing else to talk about. Give me something here. I already showed a Twitch clip while you were doing stuff. And I closed the window with the other Twitch clip, so we're not getting any more of that. I guess we'll look at the deck list again. Definitely feels like the triple Recruiter to like consistently set up the Flicker Wisp engine is pretty good. All right, my opponent is back. Yes, Flicker Wisp, Flicker Wisp Recruiter. Wouldn't you know it? It's my friend Flicker Wisp. Okay. So my opponent was pausing to think if they had any outs. I see. All right, folks. I'll be back tomorrow.